Hello, and welcome to Empyrion Galactic Survival, Reforged Eden, version 1.10. I'm Winslow, and today we got the base set. We got a little mining craft last time. I'm going to be setting up a couple hydrogen and water extractors so that we can start stockpiling that. Hydrogen you can mix with promethium and make powerful fuel cells. They provide, I think, 300 fuel per. And then water is really heavy to store because, water is really dense. But you can turn it into hydrogen. You can use it in food crafting. And there's I think you mix it with aluminum to make powder. And then also you can just make oxygen out of it. So it's pretty good to have just some of the water jugs in your storage. But the base is ready, fueled and shielded and armed to defend itself. So we're going to go out and about. We're going to go to the other planets in this system. I'm wanting to build some not higher class, but higher material requirement and stronger harvesting craft. So we're going to need to go out and get some materials. Some of the base materials we can get on the planet here, but we are going to need mostly gold, zescosium, and erestrum, which are not on this planet. And we're going to check out the trade station here and see who we have for vendors. I'm hoping that we've got the MA Corp Industrial so that I can get some platinum. Platinum has a variety of uses, but the first real use for them early on is in some advanced electronics crafting. They're useful for some CV and SV mining lasers, and also their requirement for the advanced warp drive. So I'm going to just see who we got. Oh, nice. Okay. Well, that's exactly who I wanted to see. Hello, my dude. I am going to... Oh, you got a good high stock of them. I'm just going to get 50. And he also sells auto miner cores. And the quartermaster, of course, has Jack and Mr. Servant Corp. I don't need anything from you today. Their inventory will respawn or regenerate over time. So it's important to come back and check out shopkeepers. I do need laser kits for auto miners, which I'm hoping to get a few set up. And I don't need anything you got, I don't think. No, I do want a couple of these. I have a HV planned out in the factory. It's a modified HV from the workshop. But I don't know what order I'm going to build all of my stuff in. Yeah, I can afford to get some cobalt from you. 66 cobalt, please, sir. Thank you. And ba-dink. Okay, just need the rares. Now inside the trade stations, once you're friendly or above, you can use the teleporters in the Polaris trade stations to go to other trade stations that you have discovered. If you're on multiplayer, they will sync up with any sectors that have been discovered by anyone. But in single player, you will have to unlock the sectors yourself. Well, that's one of the downsides for single player. In multiplayer, you can, when you're friendly, you can just boop, boop, boop across the galaxy and pop out anywhere you want, as long as it's been discovered and has a trade station. And then you can go out of the station and you can drop a ship and you can start your exploration from there if you want to get away from starter sectors. So, which does have its appeal. So first we're going to go to orbit around our crusty lava. I also need to get some aluminum. I can't forget that. We're going to start out here with the crystal. We're going to go to the crystal moon, because it's got a restroom, and they're less dangerous than the barren metal. In theory. Every planet and moon is different. Barren metal has the anti-aircraft turrets, which those just barrage you with missiles, which even powerful shielded cap vessels can be taken down by the anti-aircraft eventually. We got toxic moon, crusty lava, and then we've got the crystal moon. Crystalline moons, I believe, are a Reforged Eden specific planet. I really don't like the textures on this planet at all, or moon at all. But there's lots of enemy ships to fight, and I think I started out with like 15 on me, and I broke their AI somehow. Their pilot's having a problem. But I will benefit from it. Plink, 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 plink. Spin to win. You got to watch out with when you have a lightly shielded ship. Watch out for any of the plasma ships that might be fighting you, because their shots do heavy shield damage. I just have, a basic shield with no enhanced shield parts or anything like that. And one of those shots from just a simple drone does, I think, 7% of my total shield in damage. So just be vigilant. But here we are. We've got a decent Erestrum node. And let's see what we can get out of it. I really can't stand these textures on this planet. I'm glad that you don't have to spend too much time on crystal moons. I like the reflective nature of it. It just tells me like the whole thing is just glass or crystalline. But I mean, they could have done something better with the texture grading. So usually what I like to do when I dig with an HV is I like to dig out a little trench that makes it easy for me to move in and out of. Oh. The ground is too hard for my drills. Oh, I probably need laser. Okay. Well, let's move on. Let's not waste time here. I can put an auto miner there once I craft them. And still get all of the Erestrum I'll need. Okay, I've got 2 barren metal in my system. I got the large one with some good moons, but the medium one means we'll probably have less time scouting. So let's go to the medium. Hello. Go away. Oh, I can't warp yet. Well, might as well see what the ship is. It's nice to just take a mental inventory of all of the ships that are around. So when I'm in a proper combat ship, I can come kill them. Okay. Cool. Let's get out of here. Okay, barren metal planets. Some dangers to watch out for on barren metal. Heat and cold and radiation, depending on time of day. Anti-aircraft turrets, which are Xerox POIs, which, again, like I had said previously, they launch out a barrage of missiles, tracking missiles at you that do heavy shield damage. They're not EMPs, but, 16 missiles hitting your shields in 10 seconds will take your shields down pretty quick. And then once your shields are gone, your ship is going to explode. So be mindful of the anti-aircraft. What I like to do on barren metal is, because there's lots of valleys and lots of peaks that you can park behind. When I found a good resource spot that is guarded, I like to hide my ship in a little valley or behind a mountain. And then I like to just drill tunnels to the resource. And there are overseers typically wandering around on these planets, and you need to make sure to take care of them before you really get out of your ship, because they do heavy shield damage. They do as much shield damage as a plasma shot from a drone, and that's just from a single melee swipe. So you got to be careful with them, because if you're mining in a tunnel and you haven't cleared out all of the overseers or drones around you, when you get out of the tunnel, your ship is going to be exploded. But anyway, so I'm right next to a Polaris station. I don't know why it's not showing in orange, but because I am honored with them, thanks to all of my trading, I can drill and harvest materials in their territory without any penalty. So I'm just going to collect a variety of ores on this planet. My HV is kind of, it's being grumpy with its movement today. And I think it thinks there's I think it's colliding with objects that aren't there, or it thinks it's colliding with objects that aren't there. And I know that rock there is a problem. But it's important if, when you're using a mining ship, it's important to consider your drill placement. You want the tunnel that your ship is drilling out to be wide enough for your ship to move forward. And a little bit of wiggle room left and right and up and down so that you can drill yourself out of a tight spot if needed, because you will get stuck. The resource nodes on the barren metal planets tend to be clustered around anti-aircraft, but you will occasionally find some that are isolated. And if it's your first set of these ores that you're going after, they can be good options. But on planets you'll find later on, they're great for putting your auto miners on, because you don't have to then worry about the anti-aircraft bothering you when you're trying to pick up your ores. I'm hoping to find a good system that has most of the ores that I'll need between the planet and its moons. See here, I'm a lot closer to some anti-aircraft, but they won't be able to target me. So I'm good. Now, a lot of multiplayer servers have rules against undermining. That is mining long distances to get to whatever you need, including mining underneath POIs to collapse them. I might be digging tunnels into POIs, depending on how I'm going to be approaching them, especially if they're some of the harder ones like Sector Command. I have absolutely no problem digging in underneath, because there's great rewards in Sector Command, but the way that you have to assault it is kind of a load of BS. But as per my usual, that's a problem for future Winslow. We're nowhere near that. Though I have found a black desert planet where they're on. I didn't go down to it, though. I need heavy combat for that. Now, gold cannot be auto-mined on planets. Gold, and then the new ores. Tungsten can't be auto-mined. Silver can't be auto-mined. Magmasite and Voidium can't be auto-mined, but those respawn because they are POIs, if you have respawning POIs activated. Most ore nodes don't respawn. There's very rarely platinum on planets. You usually only find those on, I think, plasma planets. But I've had pretty good success in multiplayer in the past finding platinum asteroids. But those are typically in legacy-controlled asteroid fields. So it's a bit of white knuckling to try to get your platinum asteroids, because like you're trying to harvest them but also not be seen, because the legacy ships, unless you have pretty decent physical armor, will just tear you apart because they just chop right through your shields. I'm excited to see how far I can progress on single player. But the first step to that is getting these necessary ores. And I'm going to dig out all of the gold on the planet because there's no reason leaving it behind. This barren metal planet does not spawn gold meteorites. So once the gold is gone, it's gone. But some of the lava planets that have gold will spawn gold meteorites. So since I've got a couple crusted lavas here, I'm going to see if they have that as an option. And then we'll have a steady supply of gold ore because meteorites are infinite. You just have to wait for them to crash into the planet. And the last bit of ores that I'm going for today are going to be for some of the advanced ship components. I need sathium for armors and neodymium for electronics and cobalt for thrusters and everything else. Cobalt's kind of a pretty good all-purpose. And the only real option I have for that is, unfortunately, in the system, a stormy desert. Which stormy deserts have greatly reduced visibility for POI and just in general. Here I am coming into orbit. You can see the ore nodes, the ore deposits. But yeah, you don't see the defense POIs or any POI until you're within a couple hundred meters of it. And depending on your ship and the POI that is popping in suddenly, if you're landing right in like a drone base, you might be screwed. But these planets are pretty good for harvesting. Most arid and desert planets are good for harvesting neo and sathium. Just the desert planets are dark and stormy. And then when the sun comes up, it's nearly impossible to see. So sathium is mostly used in like ship armor, building combat steel blocks. There are some items, some components which have a small sathium cost. So it's always good to have sathium on hand. Sometimes they want plates, sometimes they want ingots. I always like to just keep the ingots on hand. It's pretty plentiful in the galaxy. And if you're building a combat ship, you're gonna need a lot of it. Drill till it's full. And then next we've got cobalt. This little mining ship can't carry a whole lot. So this is probably the last trip we'll be making with the little mole. I'm planning on upgrading to a laser drilled HV. But this has been very faithful and pretty solid. And I'll probably just retire it in the base. Keep it as a backup if I need something small. Maybe I'll take out the drills and just make it a tree harvester for our temperate planet. And again, just making a trench with a ramp so that it's easy to turn around and just drive out. because with an HV you can't just go straight up. You have to dig yourself out, or you have to just hover your way out. And in some of the nodes, if you're in a large or very large node, when you've dug that whole thing out, you're going to be a lot lower than your tunnel in. Drill till it's full. And last but not least, we've got some neodymium. Now this neo is, the node is right next to a defense tower that I don't want to deal with. So I'm going to dig an access tunnel because I can. So again, make sure that your drills in your ship create a hole large enough for your ship to go through if you're building your own. And that they fully clear out any of the ground, because you don't want them too far separated, and then you have a gap in the middle, and then you have to wiggle back and forth to drill in the middle. All right. Now, Neo is primarily used in advanced electronics. So you'll see them mostly needed for the larger thrusters and any sort of advanced components. Requires a few of them. And I've drilled out most of the node. It's a large node, so that's a lot. And I've dumped a lot of the just regular rock that I've picked up, but my capacity is full and I don't have enough lift to really drive out, so I had to dig my way out, because for some reason digging gives you forward propulsion. I didn't have enough to like go up the hill. That was my tunnel. Good old fat boy. All right. So I've got all of my spoils. And we're going to do a quick sort here. I always like to separate out my raw materials from my finished components. And then we're going to put the ore into the input for the furnace. And we're going to let that all cook up. I'm going to see how good we do. Should have more than enough for a couple small ships and maybe even a retrofit for my little warp tube. Maybe I can make it a mining tube for space mining. That's pretty good. That's actually more than I thought the yield would be. I was happy to see a couple thousand when it comes to Erestrum and Zescosium. Part of the reason why I selected this location specifically for my base was it was very close to a medium-sized Promethium node. And so I'm going to get an auto miner here, which I needed the Zascosium alloy for, which is Erestrum and Zascosium. And I'm going to go put the tier 3 auto miner on that, and we're going to see what kind of yield we get. The nice thing about single player is you can pop down an auto miner and then use a bed You can sleep for 8 hours, and it will count as 8 hours of mining for your auto miner. Now, it takes the fuel that it would normally take in that amount of time, but it also produces the output that it would normally produce in that amount of time. So it's a nice way to sort of speed things along. On multiplayer, you can't do that, so you just have to sit and wait. Staring at constructors, still the best use of your time in Empyrion, Galactic Survival, Reforged Eden 1.10. Auto miners are great. I like to put an auto miner on each resource if I can find it, one of each. And then as part of my daily chores, I just go check them. But for now, we're going to wrap it up here, and we'll see you next time with some upgraded mining ships. Bye.